For more, I'm joined by political analyst Lukhanyo Vangqa. Lukhanyo, thank you so much for your time. Your initial reaction having read the report.
Thank you for inviting me, and good afternoon to the viewers. The initial reaction that I had, I think, is similar to what other South Africans had. It's a shocking report in its findings, that they were very decisive, finding the president has a prima facie case to answer on all four of the charges that were leveled against him. And if you recall the charges that the president is facing, it's firstly that he had money stored in his furniture on his Phala Phala farm, and secondly, that money is of dubious origins. And thirdly, is that when that money was stolen, the president engaged in extrajudicial means to hunt down the suspects that stole from him, kidnapped them, and had them tortured on his farm for the return of the stolen loot. That was this undisclosed amount of US dollar currency that were found on his farm. So the panel has found that the president's explanation really is not convincing. It doesn't hold water, has many gaping holes in its version of events, and could not be reasonably believed. And therefore, the president should, by their recommendation, be taken through a Section 89 process for the impeachment of the president for gross violations of the Constitution and the laws of this country.
I suppose also it's a big moment for constitutionalism, given the fact that we have ATM, which is a party that just has 2 seats in parliament, but they were able to trigger a process such as this.
Yes, it's very true. It speaks to the accountability measures that we have as a country, and also we have in our institutions and the strength of our institutions, that an expert panel could, conceivably be brought to bring their own expertise to assist the country to grapple with this most unfortunate situation that we find ourselves in. And the fact that we have those rules in the impeachment processes of Parliament, and that those rules, remember, were brought about as a result of challenges by the UDM and the EFF that were taken up all the way to the Constitutional Court to ensure that a Section 89 process does have rules that govern them, and there are procedures for the impeachment of the president. And you can see that the ATM, as you've mentioned, then took upon those rules to test the strength of those rules and the strength of the accountability measures that we have in our Constitution when a president is accused of faces allegations such as the nature that are faced by President Ramaphosa. And on the other side, we have seen that these rules have come out after being tested to be strong and up to the task of being able to ensure that accountability is indeed a reality in South Africa and in our parliament.
One of the things I suppose we go back to 2018 when President Cyril Ramaphosa took to office. There was this campaign to try and fix the state institutions, given the fact that they were left in quite disarray in that 10-year period, or rather at the end of that 10-year period. Do you, at the back of your mind, worry that if he does step aside and we do go into a possible new leadership, that, state institutions that we've worked so hard to build, such as SARS and to protect national treasury, that could be at risk?
Yes and no. Firstly, it wasn't only the 10-year period under Jacob Zuma. You can see the attacks and challenges that these institutions started to face when you saw President Mbeki accused of interfering with the charging of then Commissioner of the National Police, Jackie Selebi, when he suspended as well the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Vusi Pikoli. So you can just see that this trend doesn't start with Jacob Zuma, but you can probably say that it intensifies under Jacob Zuma. But even currently, all the efforts that were being made by President Ramaphosa to sort of reignite these institutions were, one, too slow, and too little what was happening. You look at the number of people who have been charged with regards to state capture, It's really minuscule number of people. I think there's only one politician that is currently before our courts on these charges of state capture, and that's Mosebenzi Zwane, and that's quite recent. So there really isn't a lot that has been happening under President Ramaphosa that you can say that the country could not be able to forego his presence and continued stay as president of the republic. I think those institutions are relatively in okay shape. More could be done to strengthen them, and I don't think President Ramaphosa is indispensable to that process. And I think it becomes a hindrance, actually, to that process when he himself now starts to face allegations of serious misconduct, which those institutions would have to investigate. And therefore, you can see that it then becomes conflicted for his continued stay in office because those people are appointed by the president according to our constitution.
Right. Lukhanyo, I'm sure we'll certainly be catching up with political analysts such as yourself and others during the next 24 hours, at least between now and Tuesday, December 6th.